As the reality of the ultimate sacrifice hits so close to home.
At our house, he is the known.
Sometimes you just gotta use the right thing.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to That Voiceover Podcast, the show for and about the voiceover industry. I'm Stephen Cox. My guest, Peter Pamela Rose, is a master life coach who has been helping people for a number of years excel in their lives. And perhaps most interesting for the purposes of our discussion here today, she's also a voice actor with an active career. As such, she specializes in coaching people in the entertainment field, and she's done successful work with countless voice people. Now, by way of personal endorsement, I can tell you that Peter Pamela helped me triple my income over the period of just under 2 years. So she is awesome, and I'm happy to welcome her to That Voiceover Podcast. Peter Pamela Rose, welcome.
Thank you so much. That was quite an introduction. So, wow, thank you.
We do our best. So give us an idea of how you got started in acting, and more specifically, how you got started in voiceover.
Well, in acting, it was something that I always wanted to do since I was 8 years old. I saw a community production of The Wizard of Oz, and I wanted to be Dorothy. And I thought it was just like amazing, and I was like, oh my God, this is what I want to do with my life. I then, I just did some stuff locally, like community theater and stuff like that. And one of the things that I was always known for is having this big booming voice. I had I guess at the time, a very good singing voice for a kid. When I was 18 and I was, free as a bird, as it were, I auditioned for I did one audition for something called a Jacobson's department store, and I think it was like in the Midwest or something like that.
And this is a voiceover audition you're talking about?
Yes. And it was literally like a last-minute replacement. I was at the management company. The agent called. They said, okay, fine, just send her. I booked it, and then 1 week later, I landed the IBM fall campaign of that year. And from that point on, it just took off. I was constantly on hold. I've been a member of SAG and AFTRA since 1988. It really, really took off for me.
Now, at what point did you start your work as a life coach and a career coach?
When I was 24, which was, 16 years ago, about 16 years ago, I started working with a life coach myself. And I really saw how, wow, you could really integrate, the acting work with the coaching work, the life coaching work that, no one knew what the heck life coaching was.
Right, that was sort of the infancy of the movement, wasn't it?
Exactly. I mean, it was before the movement, because the movement probably started about 5-6 years ago, and I have a theory on why I think life coaching is so big right now, and I think will continue to be.
You want to share that theory with us?
Sure. I just say, honestly, I say it's the internet. I think everybody is so busy right now with so many things coming at them, and especially when you're pursuing a career in voiceovers or in any other area of the arts, what happens is you have your day job, you have, your personal life, and you have, your pursuit of a career. And I find what happens is that people get so overwhelmed, and also with, these things called iPhones and, BlackBerries, we're constantly expected to be, in touch with people. And so what happens is we get so much information going at us, I think people feel that their lives are extraordinarily overwhelmed. And someone asked, well, what do you think you're really good at? And I said, well, how when a necklace gets really, really messed up and, that has lots of kinks in it and lots of knots, I said, and that seems like it's your life. You hand it to me, and then I will coach you on how to untangle that necklace.
I like the analogy.
Yeah, and I made up the title of an aspect of my business is called Chiropractor for the Mind. Because what I really do is I help people to get an adjustment on their thoughts. And I do that in tandem with Acting Business Bootcamp, which is my business that I work with voiceover actors and actors, which is kind of a consulting and coaching relationship.
Yeah, let's get into that a little bit, because we work in an industry that gives us very little control. And as actors, a lot of us are control freaks. I certainly cop to that. And yet we're asked to audition, and then we're asked to wait. How do you counsel people about this feeling of helplessness that often comes along with work in this industry?
How I coach them is that I direct them towards the place where they do have control. And I find that to be incredibly empowering for that actor. I also believe that there is a tremendous amount of things that an actor can be doing for their voiceover career and just their acting career in general. However, I want to, phrase that by saying I also very strongly believe that there is a lot of stuff that actors can do that won't get them anywhere. And what I am very passionate about, in fact, I sort of started a movement with Acting Business Bootcamp on that, is that any action that I'm going to be giving you to do is going to actually be moving your career forward. I think the big problem is that there's so many things that make you feel like you're actually doing something for your career, but really what you're doing is running on the proverbial hamster wheel.
Right. So what are some of the things that you can do to kind of get off that hamster wheel? I know that you work with actors one-on-one, and you also have your Actors Boot Camp, and people can get your information there, so I don't want you to give away too much proprietary information, but let's say you're in a slump, you're not booking much. How do you counsel people to get out of that and do things that are more proactive?
Well, first of all, just to clarify, I actually only work with people privately, and the reason is because I think each individual person has, such an individualized path. And to answer your question, if someone hasn't been booking for a while, one of the things that I would do in terms of voiceover is, one, listen to their reel. Two, ask them, very specific, and this is where my expertise as a coach comes in, is because I very much believe that we all have the answers to everything that we want to know. The thing is that we're not being asked the right questions. I think those are the kind of coaches that you want to go to. You want to go to a coach who's going to ask you questions where your immediate response is, that's a really good question, to which my response is always, that's why I asked it. So you want to be asking yourself and be with somebody or working with somebody who's asking very targeted questions. Because one of the things I have found is a lot of times is that sometimes this idea that, I'm not booking, it becomes a mental thing. And then what my job is to get you out of that snowball effect, is literally to stop the avalanche coming down the mountain. And you do that, through a variety of exercises and things like that. I also, what I kind of became known for in the beginning was working a lot with actors on fear in their career. And I did, a whole CD on it called Fear in Your Career is Fear Standing in the Way of Your Success. Because I found that so much of what was happening with actors, they would freeze behind the mic or freeze behind the camera or freeze when they got on stage. Is that the messages that they were saying to themselves while they were auditioning or being called back or at a job.
It sounds like by asking the questions, you are implying that the answers are already inside of us and that your role as a coach is to just bring them out.
Yes, that would be correct.
That's very reassuring.
Well, the big thing is that coaching is really, it's a co-creation. It's a co-creating of a relationship. And I think of it as, it's, you are in the, in the cockpit with the God or universe of your understanding, and I'm in the navigator seat. So I'm the third seat, as it were. And what I'm doing is asking you questions that are going to help you to find your own solution with the, universe of your understanding, with the higher power, whatever you want to call it, of your understanding.
Let's say you are somebody who is just dipping his or her toe into the waters in terms of voiceover. You've been told you have a nice voice. You know how it goes.
You should do voiceovers. Yeah, exactly.
Right. So somebody comes to you and asks for your professional advice and wants to get involved in voiceover. What do you tell them?
Well, first of all, I congratulate them, and I say, I am so thrilled you contacted me. I'm going to save you lots of money. That's the first thing I say, because I think one of the hardest things is that, and I think also, the controlling is like, well, I know how to do this. Well, I know how to do this. And I think the smartest actors and the actors who really work are the ones who go, hey, I actually don't know, so I'm going to try and go to somebody who does. And, how do you know, well, who to go to? Well, I always say to everybody, look, if you want to figure out, if I am who I say I am, go on to Google and Google Peter Pamela Rose. You will see that I've done voice work in over 50 major feature films. You will see that I'm represented by one of the top agents in the business. When you go on to Acting Business Boot Camp, you're going to see that I'm recommended by, 4 or 5 major people in the industry. Those are the people, whether you work with me or you work with somebody else, those are the people you want to be working with. Some of the schools, some of the, places that say, oh, we're going to make you a voiceover reel, you really need to be researching and saying, because like I said, it takes a lot of energy to make $100. I used to be a cater waiter, and I know what it's like to make $100. So I want to make sure that your $100 is going to the right place. So I always encourage people, research. Who are the major casting directors in the voiceover industry, and then who do they recommend to be career coached by or to be voiceover coached by? Go to the source. That's a big thing I've always believed all my life. Go to the source.
Yeah, it really is a minefield out there for somebody who's first getting started in this industry. And in doing research for this program, I've discovered some places that charge close to 5 figures to do your reel and do your coaching, and it's just not worth it, and you're not getting your money's worth by any stretch of the imagination. So I like that advice. Go to the source. That's good advice.
Absolutely. Go to the source. And, I would say if anybody is going to say to you, hey, I'll do your reel for I'll coach you and do your reel for $5,000, I would seriously give it a second look. Unless they are really recommended by, top agents in the industry. And when I say top agents, really, what I would say is agents from the New York market, the LA market, or the Chicago market, the major markets. Because ultimately, that's what you're going to want to be appealing to, because that's where the money is. Ultimately, that is where the money is.
Have you ever counseled somebody to get out of the entertainment industry? Has that ever come up for you?
Well, one of my favorite stories about actually, and it was voiceovers. I used to coach voiceovers. Now I have people who I refer people to go to, but I worked with a woman, and she came to me. I worked with her for an hour, and she paid me. And after she paid me, she said, I just want to thank you so much. I now know this is absolutely not what I want to do with my life. And in some ways, I consider that to be still one of the most successful sessions I've ever done, because I really helped somebody to see, hey, this is what it's really like. I do think, yes, I have actually, to answer your question, quite a few people. I think a lot of people come and they're like, I want to give it one more shot. And if you're the type of person who's going to wants to be told that they're fabulous, whether they're doing actions that work or are actually going to work for them or not work for them, I am not the person to go to, because I am going to what I so strongly believe is that if you really want to do this, you need to really commit yourself to it. There's a wonderful saying that a friend of mine, who's actually, his name is Doug Kerrigan. He does a lot of video games in Los Angeles. And he said to me, Peter, maturity is going after what you want, not going after what you think you want.
Tremendous advice. And as I said at the top of the podcast, I cannot recommend you and your services more highly. So thank you so much for joining us on the program.
You are so welcome, and thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, please always feel free to shoot me an email at peterpamelarose@gmail.com. And Acting Business Bootcamp is the name of my website, and I'd love to hear from you, especially if you come through Stefan.
Duly noted. That Voiceover Podcast is a co-production of Half Full and Get Creative Inc. Thanks for listening. I'm Stefan Cox.